Amelia came to Silver Ridge to heal a broken heart, not deliver a calf alone in a barn or spark something unexpected with the grieving rancher, Noah. But with every sunset her heart begins to hope again. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun broke through the clouds as Amelia Duarte drove her small sedan down the winding country road. City buildings and traffic had given way to endless fields, scattered farmhouses, and a sky bigger than she'd ever seen before. At 26, she'd never spent more than a weekend away from the city. Now she was about to spend 3 weeks in the middle of nowhere. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, gripping the steering wheel tighter. It's just 3 weeks. 3 weeks since Richard had handed back her engagement ring. 3 weeks since he'd told her that their 5-year relationship had been a mistake. 3 weeks of crying herself to sleep in the apartment they once shared. The GPS on her phone beeped, interrupting her thoughts. "In half a mile, your destination will be on the right, Silver Ridge Ranch." Amelia took a deep breath and slowed down, looking for the entrance. The veterinary internship program had seemed like the perfect escape when her supervisor suggested it. Get away from the city, from the pitying looks of friends, from the constant reminders of Richard. Focus on work, focus on animals. They at least wouldn't break her heart. A wooden sign marked the entrance to Silver Ridge Ranch as she turned onto the gravel driveway. Amelia's first impression was of vastness. Rolling hills stretched as far as she could see, dotted with grazing cattle. A 2-story farmhouse stood in the distance, weathered but sturdy, with a large red barn nearby. She parked her car in front of the house and stepped out, the cool morning air filling her lungs. For a moment, she stood there, taking it all in. The silence was different here, not the absence of sound, but a different kind of fullness. Birds chirping, leaves rustling, the distant lowing of cattle. The screen door of the farmhouse creaked, but opened, and a woman in her 60s stepped out onto the porch, wiping her hands on her apron. "You must be the vet intern," she called out with a warm smile. "I'm Martha, the housekeeper. Come on in, dear. You must be tired after that long drive." Amelia smiled back, grateful for the friendly welcome. "I'm Amelia. Thank you for having me." Martha led her into a cozy kitchen that smelled of fresh bread and coffee. "I've got your room already upstairs. Noah's out checking the herd, but he should be back for lunch. He doesn't talk much, so don't take it personally, Noah." "Noah Callahan, the owner of Silver Ridge," Martha explained, pouring Amelia a cup of coffee. "Good man, but keeps to himself these days. Been through a lot." Amelia nodded, not wanting to pry. She was here to work with animals, not get involved in anyone's personal life. Her own heart was too bruised for that. After settling into her room, a simple but comfortable space with a view of the pastures, Amelia changed into jeans and work boots. She was eager to start, to fill her mind with new tasks and responsibilities. Martha was setting the table for lunch when the back door opened. A tall man entered, removing his dusty cowboy hat. Amelia's first thought was that he looked carved from the land itself, strong, weathered, and unsuspecting. His dark hair was slightly too long, his face tanned from working outdoors. He looked to be around 30, but his eyes seemed older somehow. "Noah," Martha said, "this is Amelia Duarte, the veterinary intern from the city." Those eyes, a deep stormy blue, turned to her, assessing. He gave a curt nod. "Miss Duarte, hope you're ready to work." "I am," Amelia replied, extending her hand. "And please, call me Amelia." He hesitated before shaking her hand briefly. His palm was rough with calluses. "Your first day starts after lunch. I'll show you around the property. We've got 60 head of cattle, some horses, chickens, and a few barn cats that think they run the place." His voice was deep and matter-of-fact, without warmth or welcome. But Amelia hadn't come for warmth. She'd come to work, to heal, to forget. "I'm looking forward to it," she said simply. Lunch was a quiet affair. Martha tried to keep conversation flowing, asking Amelia about the city and her training as a veterinarian. Noah ate silently, his attention seemingly focused on something far away. "So, what made you choose a rural internship?" Martha asked as she served apple pie for dessert. Amelia hesitated. "I wanted a change of scenery, and I'd like to expand my experience beyond small domestic animals." "Well, you'll certainly get that here," Martha said with a chuckle. "Last month, Noah had to help deliver twin calves in the middle of a thunderstorm." Noah stood abruptly. "If you're finished, we should start the tour." Outside, the afternoon sun warmed the air as Noah led Amelia toward the barn. His strides were long, and she had to walk quickly to keep up. "The medicine cabinet is in the back room of the barn," he explained, his tone busy. "Dr. Wilson comes by twice a month for scheduled checkups, but you'll handle any day-to-day issues. I expect you to keep a detailed log of any treatments or medications you administer." Of course, Amelia nodded, mentally taking notes. The barn was larger than it appeared from outside, with stalls for horses on one side and an area for sick or injured cattle on the other. Everything was meticulously organized, from the feed bins to the medical supplies. "You've kept everything in great condition," Amelia observed. Noah glanced at her, a flicker of something pride perhaps crossing his face before disappearing. "My brother and I built most of this ourselves. He was good with his hands." "Was. The past tense hung in the air between them before Amelia could respond. A soft whine came from one of the stalls. Noah led her to a beautiful chestnut mare, her stomach visibly swollen with pregnancy. "This is Maple. She's due in about 3 weeks. You'll want to keep an eye on her." Amelia approached the horse slowly, speaking in soft tones. Maple nuzzled her hand gently. "She's beautiful. Is this her first foal?" Noah nodded. First one went fine, but you never know. I'll check on her daily," Amelia promised. They continued the tour, with Noah pointing out various areas of the ranch: the calving pen, the equipment shed, the chicken coop, the grazing pastures that stretched over rolling hills. Throughout it all, his manner remained distant, professional, not cold, exactly, but closed off, as if a wall stood between him and the rest of the world. As the afternoon wore on, Amelia began to see what Martha had meant. The ranch was beautiful, the operations well run, but there was a heaviness in the air, a silence that seemed stitched into the walls of the house and barn. It clung to Noah like a shadow. "The far pasture is about a mile that way," Noah said, pointing to the north. "If you need to go out there, always take the ATV. Sometimes cell service drops in the valley." "I understand," Amelia said. "Is there anything else I should know?" Noah looked at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "Just do your job, keep the animals healthy, and we'll get along fine." With that, he turned and walked toward the house, leaving Amelia standing alone by the barn. The message was clear: keep your distance, do your work, don't ask questions. It suited her just fine. She wasn't here to make friends or connections. She was here to heal her own wounds, to find some peace in hard work and routine, to escape the echo of Richard's words, "I don't think I ever really loved you." That evening, after a quiet dinner with Martha, Noah had taken his plate to his office. Amelia sat on the porch swing, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange. The vastness of the land both intimidated and comforted her. Here, under this enormous sky, her problems seemed smaller somehow. The screen door creaked, and Martha joined her, offering a cup of tea. "Beautiful, isn't it?" the older woman said, nodding toward the sunset. "It's amazing," Amelia agreed. "So different from the city." Martha settled into a rocking chair. Noah used to sit out here every evening with his brother Sam. They'd talk about their day, make plans for the ranch. Those boys were as close as 2 peas in a pod. Amelia hesitated, then asked softly, "What happened to Sam?" Martha's face grew. "Sad accident. 2 years ago, they were fixing the roof of the barn when Sam fell. Noah was right there, but couldn't save him." She sighed deeply. "Noah hasn't been the same since. Blames himself, though there was nothing he could have done." "That's terrible," Amelia murmured, her heart aching for the man who carried such a burden. Ranch was their dream. You see, they built it together from almost nothing. Now Noah keeps it going, works from dawn till dusk, but the joy is gone from it. Martha looked at Amelia. "So don't take his manner personally, he's just ... surviving." Amelia nodded, understanding all too well what it meant to simply survive each day. Wasn't that what she herself was doing? "I won't," she promised. That night, lying in her bed listening to the unfamiliar sounds of the countryside, Amelia thought about Noah Callahan, a man who'd lost not just his brother but his dream, his purpose. He wasn't at all what she expected. In her experience, people with power rarely noticed those without it, let alone cared about their well-being. The next morning, Maria arrived at the vineyard early, determined to make up for lost time. To her surprise, she found a new wide-brimmed hat and a fresh water bottle at her workstation. There was no note, no explanation, but somehow she knew who had left them. Throughout the day, she felt someone watching her. Occasionally, she'd look up to find Lucas working nearby, checking on her without being obvious about it. It should have made her uncomfortable, but instead, she found it oddly comforting. By the end of the week, Maria had settled into a routine. Each morning, she'd find small gestures of kindness waiting for her: a piece of fruit, a better pair of work gloves, a small bench placed strategically to provide extra shade during breaks. Never anything extravagant. Never anything that would call attention to her among the other workers, but always something thoughtful. One evening, as she was heading back to the workers' quarters after a long day, Lucas fell into step beside her. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "No more dizziness?" "I'm fine," she answered, suddenly aware of the other workers watching them. "Thank you for the hat and the other things." "What other things?" he asked innocently, but the small smile on his lips gave him away. Maria smiled despite herself. "You know what I mean." They walked in comfortable silence for a moment before Lucas spoke again. "Tomorrow is Sunday. The workers have the day off. There's a small festival in town if you'd like to go." Maria hesitated. "I usually use Sundays to wash my clothes and rest." "Of course," Lucas said, not pushing. It was just a thought. As he turned to leave, Maria surprised herself by calling after him, "Maybe just for a little while." In the afternoon, the smile that lit up Lucas's face was warm and genuine. "I'll come by around 2. Then that night, Maria couldn't sleep. What was she doing? Getting involved with the boss was never a good idea, especially for someone like her who never stayed in one place for long. Seasonal workers followed the harvest, moving from farm to farm. never putting down roots, and yet, there was something about Lucas that made her want to trust him. He wasn't like the other farm owners she'd worked for. He worked alongside his employees, felt the same sun on his back, experienced the same exhaustion at day's end. Sunday arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze. Maria washed her hair and put on her one nice dress, a simple blue cotton garment that she saved for special occasions. She told herself she wasn't trying to impress anyone, but she took extra care with her appearance nonetheless. At 2 o'clock precisely, there was a knock at the door of the small cabin she shared with 3 other female workers. They giggled and nudged her as she went to answer it. Lucas stood on the porch wearing clean jeans and a pressed shirt. He'd clearly made an effort too, and Maria found herself noticing how handsome he was when he wasn't covered in dust and sweat from the fields. "Ready?" he asked. Maria nodded, suddenly shy. "Just for a little while," she reminded him. The town festival was small but lively with food stalls, music and games. Lucas bought them both ice cream cones, and they walked through the square, watching children play and couples dance to the live band. "How long have you been working in the fields?" Lucas asked as they sat on a bench in the shade. "All my life," Maria answered. "My parents were migrant workers. I grew up moving from farm to farm, following the harvests." "That must have been hard," Lucas said. "Always being the new kid, never having a permanent home." Maria shrugged. "It was all I knew. My parents taught me to be strong, to take care of myself." "And where are they now?" A shadow crossed Maria's face. "My father died 5 years ago, heart attack in the middle of a cotton field. My mother went back to Mexico to live with her sister last year. Her health isn't good anymore." "I'm sorry about your father," Lucas said softly. "And your mother, do you get to see her?" "Not often. I send money when I can." Lucas nodded, understanding the responsibility she carried. "What about you? What do you want for yourself?" The question caught Maria off guard. No one had ever asked her that before. "Want? I don't think about wanting things. I think about surviving." Lucas was quiet for a moment. "Everyone should have something they want, something to dream about." Maria looked at him curiously. "What about you? You have everything: land, money, success. What do you dream about?" A hint of sadness flickered in Lucas's eyes. "Not everything. I dream of building something that lasts, something meaningful, and of having someone to share it with." The honesty in his voice touched something in Maria's heart, a place she usually kept carefully guarded. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to wonder what it would be like to stay in one place, to build a life with someone like Lucas. But then reality crashed back in. Men like Lucas didn't end up with women like her. She was just a novelty to him, a temporary distraction. "I should get back," she said abruptly, standing up. "I have laundry to finish before tomorrow." Lucas looked surprised by the sudden change, but didn't argue. "Of course, I'll walk you back." The walk back to the workers' quarters was quiet, the easy companionship of earlier replaced by an awkward tension. At her door, Lucas paused. "Did I say something wrong?" he asked. Maria shook her head. "No, I just remembered my place. Thank you for the ice cream and the nice afternoon." Before he could respond, she went inside, closing the door firmly behind her. She leaned against it, heart pounding, telling herself she'd done the right thing. Getting close to Lucas Aranda could only lead to heartbreak. People like her didn't get happy endings. What she didn't see was Lucas standing on the other side of the door, his hand raised as if to knock, then slowly lowering it as he turned and walked away, a determined look in his eyes that suggested this was far from over. The next morning, Maria arrived at the vineyard earlier than usual. She wanted to prove to herself and to Lucas that yesterday's outing hadn't changed anything. She was still just a worker and he was still the boss. But when she reached her assigned row, she found Lucas already there, checking the ripeness of the grapes. He looked up as she approached, and a warm smile spread across his face. "Good morning," he said. "You're here early." "I like to get a head start," she replied, keeping her tone professional. Lucas nodded, respecting her boundaries. "The harvest is going well. These grapes will make excellent wine." "I wouldn't know," Maria admitted. "I've never tasted fine wine." "Never." Lucas looked surprised. "But you've worked in vineyards before. Working doesn't mean tasting. The wine we make isn't for people like me." Lucas frowned slightly at her words. "I don't believe that." "Good. Wine is for anyone who appreciates it." He hesitated, then added, "I'd like to show you sometime. The winery, I mean. How we make the wine from the grapes you help harvest." Before Maria could respond, the supervisor called out that it was time to start work. Lucas gave her a small nod and walked away, leaving her with mixed feelings. Throughout the day, Maria kept her head down and worked diligently. But she couldn't help noticing that Lucas stayed away from her section of the vineyard. Part of her was relieved, but another part she didn't want to acknowledge was disappointed. By the end of the week, Maria had convinced herself that Lucas had lost interest, and that was for the best. But on Friday afternoon, as she was finishing her row, Elena approached her. "Maria, Mr. Aranda asked if you could come to the main house after work. There's a situation with the kitchen garden he'd like your opinion on." Maria frowned. "My opinion? Why would he want my opinion?" Elena shrugged. "He just said you might know something about the tomato plants that are struggling." Curiosity got the better of her, and after her shift ended, Maria made her way to the main house. She found Lucas in a small garden at the back, kneeling beside some sad-looking tomato plants. "Alina said you wanted to see me," Mara called out. Lucas looked up, and the smile that lit his face was so genuine that Maria felt a flutter in her chest. "Yes, thank you for coming. These tomatoes are not doing well, and Alina mentioned that you grow vegetables at the workers' quarters." Maria knelt beside him to examine the plants. "They're getting too much water," she said after a moment, "and they need more sunlight. They should be moved to that side of the garden." Lucas nodded thoughtfully. "I've never had much luck with vegetables. My mother was the one with the green thumb." "My mother taught me," Maria said, gently touching a yellowing leaf. "Even when we moved around, she always found a way to grow a few plants. She said it was important to put down roots, even temporary ones." "Your mother sounds wise," Lucas said softly. "She is," Maria agreed, "but practical, too. Fresh vegetables meant we ate better, even when money was tight." Lucas was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Would you help me with the garden? I'll pay you extra." "Of course," Maria hesitated. Spending more time with Lucas was exactly what she'd been trying to avoid, but the garden genuinely needed help, and the extra money would allow her to send more to her mother. "All right," she agreed. "I can come in the evenings, after my regular work." Lucas's face brightened. "Perfect, and maybe afterwards, if you're not too tired, I could show you the winery. No pressure, just if you're interested." Against her better judgment, Maria found herself nodding. "I'd like that." Over the next 2 weeks, a new routine developed. Maria would work in the vineyards during the day, then spend an hour or two in the evening tending to the kitchen garden at the main house. Sometimes Lucas would work alongside her, asking questions and learning. Other times he'd have business to attend to, but he always made time to check on her progress. After garden work, they'd often walk to the winery, where Lucas explained the process of turning grapes into wine. Maria found herself fascinated by the complexity of it all, and by Lucas's passion when he talked about it. One evening, as they stood among the massive oak barrels in the cool of the winery, Lucas opened one of the tasting bottles. "This is from last year's harvest," he explained, pouring a small amount into 2 glasses. "Some of these grapes might have been picked by you." Maria took the glass hesitantly. She'd never had wine that didn't come from a box or a cheap bottle. "Take a small sip," Lucas instructed. "Let it sit on your tongue for a moment before swallowing." Maria followed his directions, surprised by the rich, complex flavors that filled her mouth. "It's beautiful," she said after swallowing. Lucas looked pleased. "That's a perfect way to describe it. Many people talk about the technical aspects, tannins, the acidity, but wine should evoke emotion. Beautiful is exactly right." As they walked back to the workers' quarters later that night, Lucas asked, "Have you always moved around?" "Never wanted to settle in one place." Maria considered the question. "It wasn't about what I wanted. It was about following the work. That's just how it is for people like me. And if you could choose. If work wasn't the deciding factor." Maria looked up at the stars, bright in the clear night sky. "I don't know. I've never let myself think about it." "Maybe you should," Lucas said, quietly. Back at her cabin, Maria found her roommates full of questions. "Are you and the boss a thing now?" Carmela asked bluntly. "No," Maria insisted. "I'm just helping with his garden, and he's teaching me about winemaking. It's nothing more than that." "Sure doesn't look like nothing," another woman commented. "The way he looks at you, ... You're imagining things," Maria said firmly. But later, lying in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about Lucas's question. What did she want? Where would she choose to stay, if she could? For the first time in her life, the endless movement of following the harvest seemed less like freedom and more like running away. The next morning, a commotion at the workers' quarters woke Maria early. A fancy car had pulled up, and a beautiful woman in expensive clothes was talking to the supervisor. "Who is that?" Maria asked Carmela, who was peering out the window. "Isabella Vega," Carmela replied. "Lucas's ex-fiancée. They were engaged last year, but she broke it off. Rumor is, she thought being a farmer's wife was beneath her, even if the farmer is a millionaire." Maria felt a strange twist in her stomach. What's she doing here? Who knows? But she shows up every few months, stirs up trouble, then leaves again. Throughout the day, Maria couldn't help watching as Isabella's sleek car remained parked by the main house. By lunchtime, gossip had spread that she was trying to reconcile with Lucas. "Her daddy's business is failing," one of the older workers told the group during the lunch break. "Now Lucas's money doesn't seem so dirty to her." Maria tried to focus on her work, telling herself it was none of her business. But when evening came, she hesitated about going to the main house. What if Isabella was still there? What would she think seeing Maria, dirty from the fields, coming to tend the garden? After debating with herself, Maria decided to go after all. She had made a commitment, and the extra money was important. As she approached the house, she heard raised voices coming from the porch. "You can't just show up whenever you want." "Isabella," Lucas was saying, his voice tense. "We've been over this. You're being ridiculous." Isabella replied. "We were good together, so I had cold feet about living out here in the middle of nowhere. People make mistakes." It wasn't a mistake. It was a fundamental difference in what we wanted from life. Lucas sounded tired, as if they'd had this conversation many times before. You wanted me to be someone I'm not, because I thought you could be more than just a farmer. I am more than just a farmer. I'm exactly who I want to be. You're the one who couldn't accept that. Maria knew she should leave, that she was eavesdropping on a private conversation. But before she could retreat, Isabella spotted her. Who was that? She demanded, pointing at Maria Letters. Lucas turned, and when he saw Maria, his expression softened immediately. Maria Letters, I'm sorry, I lost track of time. Isabella looked between them, her eyes narrowing. Oh, I see. You found yourself a field worker to play house with. That's enough, Isabella, Lucas said sharply. Maria is helping me with the garden and learning about wine production. She's a valued employee and my friend. Friend, Isabella laughed. Please, Lucas, I know you always wanting to save everyone, fix everything. Is she your latest project? Maria felt her face burn with humiliation. I should go, she said quietly, turning to leave. Maria, wait, Lucas called after her, but she kept walking. She heard quick footsteps behind her, and then Lucas was beside her, gently touching her arm. Please, don't go. I'm sorry about that. She's right, Maria said, not looking at him. I don't belong here at your house, pretending to be something I'm not. No, she's not right, Lucas insisted. And you're not pretending anything. You're exactly who you are, smart, hardworking, caring. That's who I see when I look at you, Maria Letters. Not a project, not an employee, just you. The sincerity in his voice made her finally look at him. There was no pity in his eyes, only warmth and something else, something that made her heart beat faster. The garden needs me, she said after a moment, a small smile tugging at her lips. Lucas's face relaxed into a grin. It absolutely does. Those tomatoes would be doomed without you. As they walked the garden together, Maria asked quietly, did you love her? Lucas was silent for a long moment. I thought I did, but looking back, I think I loved the idea of having someone, of not being alone anymore. Isabella and I, we wanted very different things from life. What do you want? Maria asked, echoing the question he'd asked her. Lucas stopped walking and turned to face her. I want someone who understands that this land isn't just how I make money, it's part of who I am. Someone who sees the beauty in growing things, in creating something with your hands. Someone who values honesty and hard work over status and appearances. He took a deep breath. Someone like you, Maria Letos. Maria froze, stunned by his words. No one had ever spoken to her like that before, with such open admiration. You don't know me, she whispered. I know enough, he replied. I know that when you talk about plants, your whole face lights up. I know that you work harder than anyone else in the vineyard. I know that you send most of your money to your mother instead of keeping it for yourself. And I know that when you smile, really smile, not the polite one you give everyone else, it feels like the sun coming out after days of rain. Maria didn't know how to respond. Everything in her experience told her to run, to protect herself from inevitable disappointment, but something stronger kept her rooted to the spot, looking up into Lucas's earnest face. I'm scared, she admitted, the words barely audible. Of what? Of believing this could be real. People like me don't get fairy tales. Lucas, this isn't a fairy tale, he said, taking her hand gently in his. This is real life. My life, and I'm hoping, maybe it could be our life. Before she could respond, they heard the sound of a car engine starting. Isabella was leaving, tires spinning angrily in the gravel driveway. I should check on the tomatoes, Maria said, needing a moment to process everything Lucas had said. Of course, he agreed, releasing her hand. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. As Maria worked in the garden, her mind was in turmoil. Lucas's words had unlocked something inside her, hopes and dreams she'd never allowed herself to consider. Could she really build a life here with him? Lucas brought her a glass of water and sat nearby, not pressuring her, just keeping her company as the sun began to set. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with possibility. Finally, Maria spoke. I've never stayed anywhere long enough to see a garden through a full season. Lucas seemed to understand the significance of this statement. Would you like to stay? I mean, see what grows. Maria looked at the tiny tomato plants she'd carefully transplanted. They were already looking stronger, reaching toward the sun. Maybe, she said softly. I think I'd like to try. The smile that spread across Lucas's face was like dawn breaking. That's all I'm asking for, a chance to try. As darkness fell, they walked back to the workers' quarters side by side, not touching but somehow closer than before. At her door, Lucas hesitated. Would you have dinner with me tomorrow night? At the house. Elena makes an amazing paella on Saturdays. Maria nodded. I'd like that. That night, for the first time in years, Maria allowed herself to dream of a future where she wasn't just passing through, where she could put down roots that might actually last. Saturday morning brought a surprise. When Maria arrived at her workstation, Lucas was waiting with a small envelope. What's this? She asked. Open it, he encouraged. Inside was a check, enough money to bring her mother up from Mexico for a visit. Lucas, I can't accept this, she protested. It's not A gift, he explained quickly. It's an advance on your salary for the garden work. I thought ... maybe your mother would like to see what you're growing here. Tears filled Maria's eyes. No one had ever done something so thoughtful for her before. Thank you, she whispered, clutching the envelope. This means everything to me. Throughout the day, Maria worked with a newfound energy. The possibility of seeing her mother, of showing her this place that was beginning to feel like home, filled her with joy. That evening, she took extra care getting ready for dinner, wearing her blue dress and letting her hair down from its usual practical braid. When she arrived at the main house, Lucas was waiting on the porch. His eyes widened when he saw her. You look beautiful, he said simply. Dinner was everything Maria had hoped for. Elena's paella was delicious, and the conversation flowed easily. Lucas told stories about growing up on the estate, about his dreams for expanding the vineyard, about the new techniques he was learning to make the land more sustainable. My father always said we're just borrowing this land from our children, he explained. I want to make sure it's better when I pass it on than when I received it. You want children? Maria asked, then blushed at her own directness. Lucas smiled. Someday, yes, a family to share all this with. What about you? Maria thought about it. I never let myself think about it before. It didn't seem possible. Always moving around, but yes, I think I would like children. Someone to teach the things my mother taught me. After dinner, they sat on the porch swing, watching the stars come out. Lucas hesitantly put his arm around Maria's shoulders, and she leaned into him, allowing herself to enjoy the feeling of being held. I called my mother today, she told him. She cried when I told her I was sending money for her to visit. She's coming next month. I can't wait to meet her, Lucas said. She like you, Maria said confidently. She always told me to find a man who works with his hands and prays with his heart. Lucas squeezed her shoulder gently. And have you found that man? Maria turned to look at him, her heart full of a feeling she was finally ready to name. I think maybe I have. Slowly, giving her plenty of time to pull away if she wanted to, Lucas leaned down and kissed her softly. Maria had been kissed before, but never like this, like she was precious, like she was cherished. When they broke apart, Lucas rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling in love with you, Maria Estrella, he whispered. I don't want to scare you away, but I need you to know that, instead of the fear she expected to feel, Maria felt only warmth spreading through her chest. I've spent my whole life running, she admitted, but for the first time, I want to stay. I want to see what happens next. Lucas smiled, his eyes shining in the moonlight. So do we, Maria. So do we. As he walked her back to the workers' quarters that night, they made plans for the next day, and the day after that. Small, ordinary plans that somehow felt extraordinary because they were making them together. At her door, Lucas kissed her once more. Good night, Maria, and good night, Lucas. Inside, Maria found her roommates waiting eagerly for details. For once, she didn't mind their questions. She told them about dinner, about Lucas's kindness in helping bring her mother for a visit, about the gentle way he'd kissed her. Be careful, Carmela warned. Men like him don't usually end up with women like us. Lucas isn't men like him, Maria replied confidently. He's just Lucas. And maybe I'm not women like us anymore. Maybe I'm just Maria. Letters that night. As she drifted off to sleep, Maria realized something had changed within her. The wall she'd built around her heart, brick by brick over years of disappointment and loss, was beginning to crumble. And for the first time, she wasn't trying to rebuild it. But life has a way of testing new happiness. And Maria's test arrived, the very next morning in the form of a phone call. Alina came running to the workers' quarters, her face grave. Maria, you need to come quickly. It's Lucas. There's been an accident at the winery. Maria's heart pounded as she ran toward the main house, following Alina. What happened? Is he okay? She asked breathlessly. One of the large wine barrels fell. Lucas was trapped underneath it, Alina explained, her voice shaking. Miguel and some of the men got him out, but he's hurt. The ambulance is on the way. When they reached the house, Maria found Lucas lying on the couch, his face pale with pain. Miguel was pressing a towel against Lucas's leg, and the fabric was soaked with blood. Lucas, Maria rushed to his side, dropping to her knees beside the couch. His eyes fluttered open, and despite his pain, he managed a small smile when he saw her. Maria, I'm okay. It looks worse than it is. Don't talk, she ordered, taking his hand. Save your strength. The paramedics arrived minutes later, quickly assessing Lucas's injuries. Broken leg, possible internal bleeding, one of them said. We need to get him to the hospital right away. As they prepared to move him to the ambulance, Lucas gripped Maria's hand. The harvest, he said weakly. It needs to be finished on schedule. Don't worry about the harvest, she assured him. Just focus on getting better. Promise me you'll make sure it's done right, he insisted. He trusts you, Maria. The sincerity in his eyes made her throat tight with emotion. I promise, she said. As the paramedics wheeled him out, Maria turned to Miguel. What exactly happened? Miguel, but looked troubled. It was strange. The barrel was secure when I checked it this morning. Someone must have loosened the supports. You mean this wasn't an accident? Maria asked, alarmed. Miguel shrugged. I can't say for sure, but it seems ... suspicious. Alina put a hand on Maria's arm. Go with him to the hospital. We'll take care of things here, but the workers, Maria began. Can manage one day without you, Alina finished firmly. Lucas needs you more right now. At the hospital, Maria paced the waiting room while doctors examined Lucas. Hours passed with no news, and her worry grew with each passing minute. Finally, a doctor approached her. Are you family? He asked. Maria hesitated. What was she to Lucas? I'm his girlfriend, she said finally, the word feeling strange but right on her tongue. The doctor nodded. Mr. Aranda has a broken leg and 3 broken ribs. One of the ribs punctured his lung, but we've repaired the damage. He's stable now, but he'll need to stay in the hospital for at least a week, and his recovery at home will take several more weeks. Can I see him? Maria asked. He's asking for you, the doctor said with a small smile. But just for a few minutes. He needs rest. Lucas looked small in the hospital bed, his strong body temporarily weakened by tubes and bandages. When Maria entered the room, his face brightened despite his pain. You came, he said softly. Of course I came, she replied, taking his hand. You scared me. I'm sorry. He tried to shift position and winced. The harvest is fine, she interrupted Miguel, and I will handle everything. You just focus on getting better. Lucas squeezed her hand weakly. Maria, I need to tell you something, just in case. Don't talk like that, she said firmly. You're going to be fine. No, but still, his eyes were serious. I love you. I wanted you to know that. Tears filled Maria's eyes. In all her life, no one outside her family had ever said those words to her. I love you too, she whispered, surprised by how easy it was to say, now that she'd let herself feel it. A nurse entered the room. I'm sorry, but Mr. Aranda needs to rest now, Maria nodded, reluctantly releasing Lucas's hand. I'll be back tomorrow, she promised. Maria, Lucas called as she reached the door. Be careful. If Miguel is right, and the barrel was tampered with, ... She understood his concern. I will be... The next morning, Maria gathered the workers together and explained the situation. Lucas will be in the hospital for at least a week. He's asked me and Miguel to oversee the completion of the harvest. Some of the male workers looked skeptical. You, one of them asked. You're just a field hand like the rest of us. Lucas trusts her, Miguel said firmly. And so do I. Maria knows these vines as well as anyone. Carmela stepped forward. I've worked harvests for 30 years. Maria knows what she's doing. Anyone who doesn't like it can find work elsewhere. The man who had spoken looked embarrassed and muttered an apology. Maria nodded, accepting it, then laid out the plan for the day's work. As the days passed, Maria divided her time between overseeing the harvest and visiting Lucas in the hospital. The work was hard, the days long, but she found strength. She didn't know she had the workers even. Those who had been skeptical at first came to respect her leadership. Each evening, she would go to the hospital and tell Lucas about the progress they were making. He listened eagerly, offering advice, but clearly proud of how she was handling things. You're amazing, he told her one evening. You've taken on so much responsibility. Maria shrugged. I'm just doing what needs to be done. For the harvest, for you. Lucas reached for her hand. When I get out of here, I want to talk about the future, our future. The word "our" sent a warm flutter through Maria's chest. I'd like that, she said softly. 5 days after the accident. As Maria was checking on a section of late ripening grapes, she noticed a sleek car pulling up to the main house. Her stomach tightened when she recognized Isabella stepping out. Maria debated whether to approach her but decided it was better to know why she was there. She walked over just as Isabella was knocking on the door. Isabella, she called out. If you're looking for Lucas, he's in the hospital. Isabella turned, her perfect features arranged in a look of concern. Yes, I heard. How terrible. I came to see if there was anything I could do. Something about her tone struck Maria as false. That's kind of you, but we have everything under control. Isabella's eyes narrowed slightly. Are you still playing at being the lady of the house? Maria stood her ground. I'm helping run the harvest while Lucas recovers. At his request. How quaint, Isabella said with a cold smile. But surely you realize this is just temporary. Lucas may find you interesting right now, but men like him don't marry women like you. The word stung, echoing Maria's own deepest fears, but she refused to let it show. If you've said what you came to say, I need to get back to work. As she turned to leave, Isabella called after her. Has Lucas told you about the financial trouble the estate is in? Maria paused. What are you talking about? Isabella's smile was triumphant now, sensing she'd found a weak spot. Oh, he hasn't mentioned it. Valle Sereno is deeply in debt. The last 2 years of drought hit the vineyard hard. Lucas needs an influx of cash that only someone like me with family connections can provide. I don't believe you, Maria said, but a seed of doubt had been planted. Ask him yourself, Isabella suggested. Or better yet, ask Miguel. He knows all about it. She got back into her car. When you realize I'm right, you might want to consider moving on before you get your heart broken. It would be the sensible thing to do. As Isabella drove away, Maria stood frozen, her mind racing. Could it be true? Was Vela Sereno in financial trouble? And if so, why hadn't Lucas told her? She found Miguel in the winery, checking the fermentation tanks. Miguel, can I ask you something? She began hesitantly. Is Vela Sereno in financial trouble? Miguel's expression became guarded. Who told you that? Isabella was here. She said the estate is in debt. Miguel sighed heavily. It's not as bad as she makes it sound. Yes, the last 2 drought years were difficult. Lucas had to take out loans to keep everyone employed and make improvements to the irrigation system. But this year's harvest is excellent, and the wine from last year is selling well. Why didn't Lucas tell me? Maria asked, hurt that he had kept this from her. Because he didn't want you to worry, Miguel explained. And because he's proud he built this place up from almost nothing. He'll find a way through this. Maria nodded slowly, processing this information. Is there anything I can do to help? Miguel looked at her with new respect. You already are helping Maria letters more than you know. That evening, when Maria visited Lucas in the hospital, she found him sitting up in bed, looking stronger than he had since the accident. Good news, he said with a smile. The doctor says I can go home tomorrow. That's wonderful, Maria said, sitting beside him, but she hesitated, then asked, Lucas, why didn't you tell me about the financial problems with Vela Sereno? His smile faded. Isabella came to see you. It wasn't a question, but Maria nodded anyway. She said the estate is in debt. Lucas sighed. It's not as bad as she probably made it sound. Yes, we had 2 difficult years and I had to take out loans, but we're turning the corner now. This year's harvest will help a lot. Why didn't you tell me? Maria asked softly. Lucas took her hand. At first because I didn't want to burden you with my problems, and then I was afraid. Afraid of what? That you would see me differently. That you would think I was a failure. Maria's heart ached at the vulnerability in his voice. Lucas, I could never think that you built all this with your own hands, your own hard work. Money troubles don't change who you are. Relief washed over his face. Isabella offered to invest in the estate, her father's money. That's why she keeps coming around. And you turned her down, Maria said, understanding now. Lucas nodded. Some prices are too high to pay. I'd rather work twice as hard than be indebted to someone who doesn't share my values, my vision for this land. Maria squeezed his hand. Then we'll work twice as hard together. The look Lucas gave her was filled with such love that it took her breath away. Together, he repeated, as if the word held all the promise in the world. The next day, Maria and Miguel brought Lucas home from the hospital. He insisted on being taken on a slow drive around the estate first, to see how the harvest was progressing. You've done an amazing job, he told Maria as they surveyed the nearly completed work. Better than I could have done myself. That's not true, she protested. But I did my best. Your best is pretty extraordinary, he said, his eyes warm with admiration. At the main house, Alina had prepared a special welcome home dinner. As they ate, Lucas filled them in on the doctor's instructions for his recovery. 6 weeks before, I can put weight on this leg, he said, gesturing to his cast, and I need to be careful with the ribs while they heal. You'll need help, Alina said practically. Someone should stay with you at least for the first couple of weeks. I can manage, Lucas began, but Miguel cut him off. Don't be stubborn. You can't hop around on one leg and try to run this place by yourself. I'll stay, Maria said quietly, if that's okay. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to her. In the traditional community, an unmarried woman staying at a man's house would cause talk. Lucas looked at her with a mixture of hope and concern. Are you sure? People will gossip. Maria smiled slightly. People already gossip. I don't care what they say. You need help, and I want to be here. Alina nodded approvingly. I'll make up the guest room for you. That night, after Elena and Miguel had gone home, Maria helped Lucas to the living room couch. His movements were still slow and painful, but he was determined to regain his independence. You don't have to do this, you know, he said as she arranged pillows behind him. Stay here, I mean. I want to, she assured him. Unless you'd rather I didn't. No, he said quickly. Having you here means everything to me. I just don't want you to feel obligated. Maria sat beside him on the couch, careful not to jostle his injured leg. Lucas, when have I ever done anything I didn't want to do? He chuckled. Fair point. You're the most stubbornly independent woman I've ever met. Look who's talking, she teased. The man who insists on working alongside his employees when he could be sitting in an air-conditioned office. We're quite a pair, aren't we? Lucas said, his expression growing serious. Maria, when I was lying under that barrel, thinking I might die, all I could think about was you, how much I wanted to see your face again, to tell you how I feel. Maria took his hand. You're not getting rid of me that easily, good, he said softly. Because I want a lifetime with you, Maria Estrella, not just a season. The words hung in the air between them, full of promise and possibility. Maria leaned forward and kissed him gently, mindful of his injuries. A lifetime sounds nice, she whispered against his lips. The next few weeks fell into a new rhythm. During the day, Maria would oversee the final stages of the harvest and the beginning of the wine production process, coming back to the house frequently to check on Lucas. In the evenings, they would sit together on the porch or in the living room, talking about their childhoods, their dreams, their hopes for the future. Lucas taught Maria about the business side of running the vineyard, and she soaked up the knowledge eagerly. For the first time in her life, she was thinking beyond the next season, the next job. She was making plans. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Lucas said, "My mother would have loved you." Maria smiled. "Tell me about her." "She was strong, like you. After my father died, everyone told her to sell the land, that a woman couldn't run a vineyard alone, but she refused. She worked from sunrise to sunset, hired good people, and kept this place going until I was old enough to help." He paused, lost in memory. "She always told me, Lucas, find a woman who isn't afraid of hard work and hard times. That's the kind of love that lasts." "She sounds wise," Maria said softly. Lucas took her hand. "She also told me I'd know when I found the right person because I'd want to build something lasting with them." He looked into Maria's eyes. "I want to build a life with you, Maria. Let us here at Valets." Maria's heart swelled with emotion. "I want that too," she admitted. "I never thought I could have this a real home, someone to love who loves me back. It still feels like a dream sometimes." "It's real," Lucas assured her, squeezing her hand. "As real as this land, these vines, this house." As Lucas's recovery progressed, Maria's mother arrived for her visit. Esperanza Estrella was a small woman with the same determined eyes as her daughter. She took one look at Lucas, still on crutches but standing proudly to greet her, and nodded approvingly. "So this is the man who has captured my daughter's heart," she said in Spanish. "Mama!" Maria protested, embarrassed, but Lucas smiled and replied in perfect Spanish, "I'm the one whose heart was captured. Senora, your daughter is an extraordinary woman." Esperanza's eyebrows rose in surprise at his fluent Spanish, and she smiled warmly. "You speak our language well." "My mother made sure of it," Lucas explained. "She said a man who works with people should to speak their language." "A wise woman," Esperanza said. She looked around at the estate. "You have built something beautiful here." "It's still growing," Lucas said. "Like all good things." During her 2-week visit, Esperanza quickly became part of life at Valle Sereno. She helped in the kitchen garden that Maria had established, taught Alina traditional Mexican recipes, and spent long hours talking with Lucas about agriculture and family traditions. Maria watched the easy relationship developing between her mother and Lucas with a full heart. This was what family was supposed to feel like: warm, supportive, connected. One afternoon, while Lucas was resting, Maria and her mother sat in the garden, picking tomatoes that were finally ripening. "He is a good man," Esperanza said without preamble. "He looks at you the way your father looked at me." Maria blushed. "I love him, Mama, I can see that." Esperanza placed a ripe tomato in the basket between them. "And he loves you, not just with words, but with actions. That is the love that lasts. I never thought I could have this," Maria admitted. "A place to belong, someone to build a life with. You deserve happiness." Esperanza touched her daughter's cheek gently. "But remember, even the strongest love needs tending, like this garden. Never take it for granted." "You won't," Maria promised. As Esperanza's visit drew to a close, Lucas's cast was removed, though he still needed a cane to walk. The first wine from the harvest Maria had overseen was being bottled, and preliminary tastings suggested it would be exceptional. The night before Esperanza was to return to Mexico, Lucas insisted on hosting a special dinner. He invited Miguel and Alina, as well as Carmela and some of the other workers who had become Maria's friends. During the meal, Lucas stood, still a bit unsteady but determined. "I want to thank everyone for your hard work and support during the harvest and my recovery. Valle Sereno isn't just land and vines, it's people. All of you, we raised this glass. And I especially want to thank 2 extraordinary women, Esperanza for raising the most remarkable daughter a man could hope to know, and Maria for showing me what true partnership means." Esperanza beamed with pride, and Maria felt tears prick her eyes at Lucas's words. After dinner, when the guests had gone and Esperanza had retired to her room to pack, Lucas asked Maria to walk with him in the garden. The night was clear. Stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you," Lucas said, his voice unusually nervous. "I was waiting for the right moment, and with your mother here, and the harvest complete." Maria's heart began to race as Lucas reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. With some difficulty due to his still healing injuries, he lowered himself to one knee before her. "Maria Estrella Esaid," his voice thick with emotion. "You came into my life like a miracle. You've shown me what it means to be truly strong, truly brave. You've made Valle Sereno more of a home than it's ever been." He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful diamond ring. "Will you marry me? Will you build a life with me here? Plant roots that will last a lifetime?" Tears flowed freely down Maria's cheeks now. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes, Lucas, yes." As he slipped a ring onto her finger, she helped him to his feet and into her arms. Their kiss was sweet with promise, with the certainty that they had found in each other something rare and precious. Later that night, Maria showed her mother the ring. Esperanza held her daughter's hand, examining the sparkling diamond with approval. Lucas asked for my blessing yesterday, she revealed. He is traditional in the ways that matter. Are you happy for me, Mama? Maria asked. Esperanza's eyes filled with tears, more than happy, at peace, knowing you have found your place, your person. It is all a mother wishes for her child. The next morning, as they prepared to take Esperanza to the airport, Maria noticed Lucas wincing as he lifted her mother's suitcase. Are you okay? She asked with concern. Your ribs still hurt. Just a little sore, he assured her. Nothing to worry about. But throughout the day, she noticed him moving more carefully, occasionally pressing a hand to his side when he thought she wasn't looking. By evening, he was pale and clearly in pain. That's it, Maria said firmly. I'm taking you back to the doctor tomorrow. It's nothing, Lucas protested. Just overdid it a bit. No arguments, she insisted. You promised to take care of yourself, remember? The next morning, Maria drove Lucas to the hospital. The doctor examined him, ordered x-rays, and came back with a concerned expression. One of your ribs hasn't healed properly, he explained. There's a slight displacement that's causing the pain. We need to do a minor procedure to fix it. How minor? Maria asked anxiously. It's outpatient surgery, but he'll need a few more weeks of very careful recovery afterward. No lifting, no straining, minimal movement. Lucas sighed in frustration. The bottling is almost complete. We have buyers coming next week. Miguel and I will handle it, Maria said firmly. Your only job is to get better. The procedure was scheduled for the following day. As they drove home, Lucas was unusually quiet. What's wrong? Maria asked. Besides the obvious, Lucas hesitated, then said, I hate being weak, being a burden. This isn't how I wanted to start our engagement, with you having to take care of me again. Maria reached over and took his hand. Lucas Aranda, listen to me. Love isn't just for the easy times, it's for all of it, the good and the bad, the strong days and the weak ones. She squeezed his hand. Remember what you said to me when I fainted in the vineyard. No one should fall alone. Well, you're not alone either, not anymore. The simple truth of her words seemed to ease something in him. How did I get so lucky? He wondered aloud. Maria smiled. It wasn't luck. It was a barrel of grapes that needed harvesting and a woman who needed work. The rest was us choosing each other every day. As they pulled up to the house, they were surprised to see Isabella's car in the driveway. What is she doing here? Maria wondered, a knot forming in her stomach. I have no idea, Lucas said, his expression darkening. But I'm not in the mood for her games today. They found Isabella waiting on the porch, impeccably dressed as always. Her smile faltered slightly when she saw them together, Maria's engagement ring catching the sunlight. Lucas, darling, she said, ignoring Maria completely. I heard you were having surgery tomorrow. I came to offer my help. How did you know about my surgery? Lucas asked, his voice cool. Isabella waved a hand dismissively. Small towns. Everyone talks. The point is, I'm here for you. That's thoughtful, Lucas said, clearly not believing her sincerity, but unnecessary. Maria and I have everything under control. Isabella's gaze finally shifted to Maria, her eyes lingering on the engagement ring. So the rumors are true. You're actually marrying your field hand. How? Progressive of you, Isabella, Lucas warned. But Maria touched his arm gently. It's okay, she said quietly. Then to Isabella, yes, Lucas and I are engaged. We love each other and I think you should leave now. Isabella's perfect features hardened. This is a mistake, Lucas, you know it is. Your parents would be horrified to see you throw away your future on. That's enough, Lucas interrupted, his voice dangerously quiet. My parents valued honesty, hard work, and integrity above all else. They would have adored Maria Letters, and I want you to leave. Now, for a moment, Isabella looked like she might argue further, but something in Lucas's expression stopped her. Fine, but when this falls apart, and it will, then come looking for me. As she stalked back to her car, Maria felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Lucas put his arm around her waist, pulling her close. I'm sorry about that, he said. Don't be, Maria replied. She doesn't matter. We do. They watched Isabella drive away and Lucas pressed a kiss to Maria's temple. You're right, we're what matters. And tomorrow, after the surgery, we'll start planning our future. But as the next day would prove, the future had other plans for them. Plans that would test their love and their strength in ways they never could have imagined. The morning of Lucas's surgery dawned clear and bright. Maria woke early, making sure everything was ready for their trip to the hospital. Lucas was quiet as she helped him into the car, his face tight with pain. It's going to, but be fine, she assured him, squeezing his hand. This is a simple procedure, and then you'll be on the road to full recovery. Lucas nodded, trying to smile for her sake. I know, I just hate hospitals. At the hospital, the nurses prepared Lucas for surgery while Maria filled out paperwork. The doctor assured her that the procedure would take less than an hour, and Lucas would be able to go home the same day. I'll be right here waiting when you come out, she promised, kissing Lucas before they wheeled him away. In the waiting room, Maria paced nervously. Despite the doctor's assurances, she couldn't help worrying. She called Miguel to check on things at the vineyard, mostly to distract herself. "Everything's fine here," Miguel told her. "How's Lucas's? In surgery now," she replied. "He should be out soon. Tell him not to worry about anything here. Elena and I have everything under control." Maria smiled, grateful for their support. "I will, thank you, Miguel." An hour passed. Then two. Maria's anxiety grew with each passing minute. Finally, the doctor appeared, still in his surgical scrubs. "Mrs. Sprella," he called, and Maria rushed over. "How is he? Can I see him?" The doctor's serious expression sent a chill through her. There were complications during the procedure. When we went to fix the rib, we discovered internal bleeding that hadn't been detected before. It appears there was more damage from the original accident than we realized. Maria's heart raced. "But he's okay, right? He's going to be fine. We've stopped the bleeding and repaired the damage, but he lost a significant amount of blood. He's stable now, but he'll need to stay in the hospital for several days, possibly a week, for observation." Maria sank into a nearby chair, her legs suddenly weak. "Can I see him? He's in recovery now. Once he's moved to a room, you can go in. It will be a couple of hours." Those hours were the longest of Maria's life. She called Miguel again to update him, then sat quietly, trying to process everything. Lucas had been more seriously injured than anyone had realized. He could have been bleeding internally all this time. Finally, a nurse came to lead her to Lucas's room. He looked pale and small in the hospital bed, connected to monitors and an IV. His eyes were closed, his breathing steady. Maria sat beside him, gently taking his hand in hers. "I'm here, Lucas," she whispered. "I'm right here." His eyelids fluttered, and slowly he opened his eyes. It took him a moment to focus on her face. "Maria," he murmured, his voice weak. "Don't try to talk," she said softly. "Everything's going to be fine. The doctor had to do a bit more than they planned, but you're going to be okay." Lucas squeezed her hand weakly. "How bad is it?" "You had some internal bleeding they didn't catch before. They've fixed it now, but you need to stay in the hospital for a few days." Frustration flickered across his face. "The buyers are coming next week. The new vintage will be fine," Maria interrupted gently. "Miguel and I will handle everything. Your only job is to rest and get better." Lucas's eyes were already drifting closed again, the medication making him drowsy. "I love you," he murmured. "I love you too," Maria replied, watching as he fell back to sleep. For the next 3 days, Maria barely left the hospital. She slept in the uncomfortable chair beside Lucas's bed, only going home to shower and change clothes. Lucas improved steadily, regaining his strength and color. By the 4th day, he was sitting up, complaining about the hospital food and asking for updates on the vineyard. "The bottling is complete," Maria told him. "The first tastings with the distributors went well. Miguel says they're very interested in the new vintage." "That's good," Lucas said, clearly relieved. "And the estate? Any problems?" Maria hesitated. "Well, there is one thing. Isabella came by yesterday." Lucas frowned. What did she want this time? "She was actually helpful," Maria admitted reluctantly. "She brought the financial records you needed to sign for the bank loan. Said her father knows the bank president and can help expedite the approval process." "I don't want her help," Lucas said firmly. "I know," Maria replied. "But Miguel said the loan is important for cash flow until the wine sales start coming in. He suggested we might need to set aside personal feelings for the good of Valle Serena." Lucas was quiet for a moment, considering. "You're right, the estate has to come first, but I don't trust Isabella's sudden helpfulness." "Neither, though." Maria agreed. "But Miguel is looking over everything carefully. We won't let her take advantage of the situation." Lucas reached for her hand. "What would I do without you? You've taken on so much responsibility," Maria smiled. "That's what partners do. We carry each other when needed." The following day, the doctor declared Lucas well enough to go home, though he would need to continue resting and avoid any strenuous activity for at least a month. No working in the vineyard, no lifting anything heavier than a coffee cup, and absolutely no stress, the doctor instructed. "Your body needs time to heal completely." Lucas didn't argue, which told Maria just how serious his condition had been. The normally stubborn, independent man was finally accepting that he needed to take care of himself at home. Maria settled Lucas in the bedroom with books, his laptop for necessary business correspondence, and strict instructions to rest. Elena came daily to help with cooking and cleaning, and Miguel visited every evening with updates on the vineyard operations. A week after Lucas returned home, Maria was in the kitchen preparing lunch when she heard a car approaching. Looking out the window, she saw Isabella's sleek vehicle pulling up. "What now?" she muttered to herself, wiping her hands on a towel and going to the door. Isabella looked unusually serious as she approached. "I need to speak with Lucas," she said without preamble. "It's important." "He's resting," Maria replied, blocking the doorway. "Doctor's orders." "This can't wait," Isabella insisted. "It's about the estate, the bank loan." Maria hesitated, then reluctantly stepped aside. "He's in the bedroom, but if you upset him, I'm taking you out of there myself." Isabella actually smiled slightly at the threat. Understood. Maria led her to the bedroom where Lucas was propped up on pillows. Reading, he looked up in surprise when he saw Isabella. "What's going on?" he asked, his eyes moving from Isabella to Maria. "Letters. Isabella says she has important news about the bank loan," Maria explained. "I told her you're supposed to be resting, but she insisted it couldn't wait." Lucas sat up straighter, wincing slightly at the movement. "Go ahead, Isabella. What's so urgent?" Isabella took a deep breath. "My father found out that the loan is about to be denied. The bank has concerns about Valle Sereno's ability to repay based on the last 2 years' financials." Lucas paled. "That can't be right. With this year's harvest and the pre-orders from distributors, the bank doesn't see it that way," Isabella interrupted. "They're looking at the past, not the future potential." "What does your father have to do with this?" Maria asked suspiciously. Isabella glanced at her. "He sits on the bank's board. He heard about the pending denial in yesterday's meeting." Lucas's face hardened. "And let me guess, he's willing to help if I reconsider his investment offer." To Maria's surprise, Isabella shook her head. "No, actually, he's already intervened on your behalf. The loan will be approved, no strings attached." Lucas looked skeptical. "Why would he do that?" Isabella was quiet for a moment, then said, "Because I asked him to." She paused, then continued, more softly, "Lucas, I know I've behaved badly. I've been jealous. When I heard about your accident and then the complications with the surgery," her voice faltered, "I realized some things matter more than pride or getting what you want." Maria watched Isabella carefully, trying to determine if this was another manipulation. But the woman's usual perfect composure had slipped, revealing what seemed like genuine emotion. "Thank you," Lucas said finally. "That was unexpectedly kind." Isabella nodded, regaining her composure. "The loan papers will be ready next week. My father made sure the terms are favorable." She stood to leave, then hesitated. "I really do hope you'll be well soon, Lucas, and congratulations on your engagement. I hope you'll both be happy." After she left, Maria sat on the edge of the bed. "Do you believe her?" she asked. Lucas considered for a moment. "Strangely, yes. I think near-death experiences have a way of putting things in perspective, not just for me, but maybe for her too." The loan approval came through as promised, with better terms than Lucas had originally been offered. The financial pressure on Valle Sereno eased considerably, allowing them to focus on Lucas's recovery and the upcoming wine sales. As the weeks passed, Lucas regained his strength. Though still not cleared for physical labor, he was able to move around the house and even take short walks through the vineyard with Maria. The fall harvest was fully processed, the new wine aging in barrels, and early samples sent to distributors had generated significant interest. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Lucas said, "I've been thinking about our wedding." Maria looked up from the garden catalog she was browsing. "What about it?" "I don't want to wait too long," he said, taking her hand. "These past months have taught me that life is unpredictable. I don't want to waste a moment of our time together." Maria smiled. "I feel the same way. What did you have in mind?" "How about December, a Christmas wedding?" Lucas suggested. "By then, I should be fully recovered, and we could invite your mother to come stay through the holidays." "December," Maria repeated, her eyes shining. "That sounds perfect." The next day they began making plans. Alina was thrilled, immediately, offering to coordinate the food and decorations. Miguel volunteered his cousin, who owned a local bakery, to make the wedding cake. News of their engagement and upcoming wedding spread quickly through the community, and to Maria's surprise, she was met with genuine warmth and congratulations from most of the workers and townspeople. "I thought they'd disapprove," she admitted to Lucas, the wealthy vineyard owner marrying a field worker. Lucas smiled. "These people have known me my whole life. They care more about character than social status. And everyone who's worked with you respects you." As their wedding date approached, Valle Sereno was busier than ever. The first bottles of the new vintage were selling well, with wine critics praising its exceptional quality. Lucas credited Maria's oversight of the harvest, telling everyone who would listen that her care and attention had made all the difference. "You're embarrassing me," she protested after one such declaration at a dinner with the vineyard's employees. "I'm just telling the truth," Lucas replied. "This year's success is as much your achievement as anyone's." 2 weeks before the wedding, Maria received an unexpected phone call from a lawyer in Mexico. Her mother's sister had passed away, leaving her small house to Esperanza. The lawyer explained that there were papers to sign and matters to settle in person. "I need to go to Mexico," Maria told Lucas that evening. "Just for a few days, to help Mama with the legal issues." Of course, Lucas agreed immediately. "When do you need to leave?" "Tomorrow, if possible. I want to get back well before the wedding." "I'll drive you to the airport," Lucas offered. Maria shook her head. "You're still not cleared for long drives. Miguel can take me." Lucas didn't argue, which showed how far he'd come in accepting help. "Call me every day," he said instead. "I'll miss you." "It's only for a few days," Maria reminded him. But the truth was, she would miss him too. They hadn't been apart since his accident. The trip to Mexico was quick but emotional. Esperanza's sister had been ill for some time, so her death wasn't unexpected, but it still brought grief. The small house she'd left behind was modest but well maintained, with a beautiful garden that reminded Maria of her childhood. "What will you do with the house, Mama?" she asked as they sorted through her aunt's belongings. Esperanza looked around thoughtfully. "I think I will sell it. Use the money to move closer to you and Lucas, if that's all right. I'm getting older, and I'd like to be near my family." Maria hugged her mother tightly. "That's more than all right. It's what I've been hoping for." For days after leaving, Maria was on a plane back to Valle Sereno, excited to share the news with Lucas that her mother would be moving nearby after the wedding. Miguel met her at the airport, his expression unusually serious. "What's wrong?" she asked immediately, her heart racing. "Is it Lucas? Has something happened?" "Lucas is fine," Miguel assured her quickly. "But there's been a situation at the estate. A fire in one of the storage buildings last night." "A fire?" Maria repeated, alarmed. "Was anyone hurt?" "No, everyone's safe. But we lost some equipment and about 100 cases of the new vintage that were being prepared for shipment." "How did it start?" Maria asked as they drove toward Valle Sereno. Miguel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "That's the thing. The fire inspector says it was deliberately set. Arson," Maria whispered, shocked. "But who would do such a thing?" "We don't know yet. The police are investigating." When they arrived at the estate, Maria saw the damage immediately. One of the smaller buildings near the winery was a charred shell, the acrid smell of smoke still hanging in the air. Workers were clearing debris, and police officers were examining the scene. Lucas was there, giving a statement to a detective. When he saw Maria, relief washed over his face, and he excused himself to come to her. "Thank God you're back," he said, wrapping her in a tight embrace. "Miguel told me what happened," she said, looking up at him worriedly. "Are you okay? You shouldn't be out here exerting yourself." "I'm fine," he assured her. "The doctor cleared me for light activity yesterday. Besides, I couldn't just sit in the house while this was happening." The detective approached them. "Mr. Aranda, if we could finish your statement." Lucas nodded, keeping his arm around Maria's waist. "This is my fiancée, Maria Estrella." "Ms. Estrella," the detective acknowledged. "I understand you were away when the fire occurred." "Yes, in Mexico. I just got back." The detective made a note. "Mr. Aranda, you were saying you had received threatening messages before the fire." Maria looked at Lucas in alarm. "What threatening messages?" "You didn't tell me about this," Lucas sighed. "I didn't want to worry you while you were dealing with your aunt's passing. They started coming the day after you left anonymous notes saying I would pay for my choices. Do you have any idea who might have sent them?" the detective asked. Lucas hesitated, then said, "There's been some resentment about my engagement. 2 Maria letters. Not everyone approves of a vineyard owner marrying a field worker." Maria felt a chill. Could someone really have set fire to the building because of their relationship? "We'll need copies of those notes," the detective said, "and a list of anyone who might have expressed disapproval or made threats." After the detective left, Maria turned to Lucas. "I can't believe this is happening. All because of me." "No," Lucas interrupted firmly. "Not because of you. Because of ignorance and prejudice. This is not your fault." Maria letters, but she couldn't shake the feeling that their happiness had somehow triggered this act of violence against Valle Sereno that night. As they sat in the living room discussing the fire and the investigation, there was a knock at the door. Miguel answered it and returned with Isabella. "I came as soon as I heard about the fire," she said, looking genuinely concerned. "Is everyone okay?" Lucas nodded. "No one was hurt, thankfully, but we lost some equipment and wine." Isabella sat down across from them. "Do they know who did it?" "Not yet," Maria replied, "but the police are investigating." Isabella hesitated, then said, "I might know something that could help." She took a deep breath. "A few days ago, I overheard my father talking to someone on the phone about teaching Aranda a lesson. I didn't think much of it at the time. My father often makes empty threats when he's angry, but after hearing about the fire..." Lucas leaned forward. "You think your father might be involved?" Isabella looked miserable. "I don't want to believe it, but he was furious when he found out he'd helped secure your loan, only for you to announce your wedding to Maria Letters. He has very traditional views about social class." Maria felt sick. "Have you told the police?" "Not yet," Isabella admitted. "I wanted to talk to you first. He's my father, and I have no proofs, just what I overheard." Lucas was quiet for a moment, then said, "You need to tell the police what you know. If your father is involved, he needs to be held accountable." Isabella nodded slowly. "I know. I'll go to the police station tomorrow morning." She stood to leave, then turned back. "I'm sorry, Lucas. Truly, and Marialitas, I misjudged you. Anyone who makes Lucas this happy deserves respect, not resentment." After she left, Lucas pulled Maria close. "No matter what happens, we're going to get through this together." The next day, Isabella went to the police as promised. By evening, her father, Richard Vega, had been brought in for questioning. The evidence mounted quickly. One of his employees admitted to setting the fire on his orders, and threatening notes were found in his office that matched those sent to Lucas. Richard Vega was arrested and charged with arson and making criminal threats. The news shocked the community, given his prominent position. Isabella, devastated by her father's actions, offered to cover all the damages to Valle Serrano from her personal funds. "You don't have to do that," Lucas told her when she came to make the offer. "I want to," she insisted. "It won't make up for what he did, but it's the right thing to do." With the arsonist caught and Isabella's financial help, the rebuilding of the damaged building began immediately. The lost wine couldn't be replaced, but the shipments were insured, so the financial impact was minimized. 2 days before the wedding, Maria's mother arrived from Mexico. Esperanza was horrified to hear about the fire but relieved that justice had been served. "Some people cannot accept that love crosses all boundaries," she said wisely. "Their hearts are too small to understand." The day of the wedding dawned clear and cold, a perfect December morning. The ceremony was to be held in the vineyard, under an arbor specially constructed for the occasion. Despite the recent drama, the mood was joyful as workers and friends helped with last-minute preparations. In a small room in the main house, Maria stood in her wedding dress, a simple but elegant white gown that Elena had helped her choose. Her mother adjusted the veil in her hair, tears shining in her eyes. "You look beautiful," Mihija Esperanza said softly, "like an angel." Maria smiled, her own eyes damp. "I never thought I'd have this, Mama. A real home, a man who loves me, a future. You deserve all of it and more," her mother assured her. "Your father would be so proud of the woman you've become." There was a knock at the door, and Carmela peeked in. "It's time," she announced. "Everyone is ready." Maria took a deep breath, steadying herself. Then, with her mother beside her, she made her way to the vineyard. The path to the arbor was lined with lanterns, their warm glow guiding the way. Guests stood as Maria appeared, but she had eyes only for Lucas, waiting for her under the arbor. He looked handsome in his suit, his face radiating happiness as he watched her approach. Miguel, serving as best man, stood beside Lucas, while Carmela took her place as Maria's maid of honor. The local minister welcomed everyone and began the ceremony. "We are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Lucas Aranda and Maria Estrella," he said. "Two people who have found in each other a partner, a friend, and a true love." As they exchanged vows, Maria's voice was clear and strong. "Lucas, you found me when I was lost, even though I didn't know it. You showed me that it's possible to put down roots without losing who you are. I promise to stand beside you through all of life's seasons, the abundant harvests and the difficult droughts. I promise to work alongside you, to dream with you, to build our future together day by day. I love you with all that I am, and all that I will become." Lucas's eyes shone with emotion as he spoke his vows. "Maria, you came into my life like a revelation. You taught me that true strength isn't about facing life alone, but about having the courage to let someone in. I promise to cherish you, to respect you, to listen to your wisdom. I promise to tend to our love as carefully as we tend to this land. I will be your partner in all things, your shelter in storms, your companion in joy. I love you more than words can express, and I will show you that love every day of our lives together." When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Lucas pulled Maria into a kiss that promised a lifetime of tomorrows. The guests erupted in applause and cheers, celebrating not just a wedding but a love that had overcome every obstacle placed in its path. The reception was held in the winery, transformed for the occasion with flowers and lights. Everyone from Valle Serrano was there, workers, friends, even some of the distributors who had become close to Lucas over the years. To Maria's surprise, Isabella came too, quietly offering her congratulations before slipping away early. As Lucas and Maria shared their first dance, he whispered in her ear, "Are you happy, Mrs. Aranda?" The name, her new name, made Maria smile. "More than I ever thought possible," she replied. "And you?" "I have everything I've ever wanted," he said, holding her close. "You, this land, our future together." Later in the evening, Lucas clinked his glass to get everyone's attention. "I want to thank all of you for being here today, for supporting Maria and me through everything. Valle Serrano isn't just a business, it's a community, a family. And today, that family has grown stronger." He raised his glass higher. "To my beautiful wife Maria, who taught me that the most precious things we grow aren't in the vineyard, they're in our hearts." Everyone raised their glasses in toast, and Maria felt tears of joy slide down her cheeks. From a life of constant movement, of never belonging anywhere for long, she had found her place at last. As the celebration continued around them, Lucas led Maria outside for a moment of quiet. The night was clear, stars twinkling above the vineyard that had brought them together. "I have something for you," Lucas said, pulling a small box from his pocket. "A wedding gift." Maria opened it to find a delicate gold bracelet with a single charm, a tiny grapevine. "It's beautiful," she said, touching it gently. "Read the inscription," Lucas urged. Maria turned the charm over and read the words engraved on the back. "You're safe now, I've got you." The words he had spoken to her that day in the vineyard, when she had collapsed and he had carried her to safety. The beginning of their journey together. "I'll add a new charm each year," Lucas explained, "to mark our life together." Maria slipped the bracelet onto her wrist, then reached up to touch his face. "I love you, Lucas Aranda, and I love you, Maria Aranda," he replied, the new name sounding right and natural on his lips. Inside, their friends and family waited to continue the celebration. Tomorrow, there would be work to do, a vineyard to tend, wine to nurture, a life to build together. But tonight was for joy, for love, for the miracle of two people finding each other against all odds. As they walked back into the warmth and light of the reception, hand in hand, Maria knew that she had finally found what she had been searching for all her life. Not just a place to stay, but a place to belong. Not just a job, but a purpose. Not just a house, but a home, and most importantly, not just a man to catch her when she fell, but a partner to help her stand tall and grow strong, like the vines that surrounded them in their valley of hearts. The end.